The more that I come to better understand this series and the exposition and quality of writing behind making it, the more that I come to believe that it deserves continual attention, appreciation, and acclaim. There are many reasons why Horikoshi's manga is worth reading that I could talk about for hours, and I have. But today, I just want to convey my feelings and thoughts on why My Hero Academia deserves credit. What makes My Hero Academia a good series fundamentally is what lies at its core. When I began the series, I found myself struggling to find the entertainment value of what I was looking for in this shonen manga. After the second season of the anime adaptation and a second venture into the series, I began to appreciate the story at hand. Mind you, I was a totally different person back then. I rarely gave series second chances, and I was often more biased to series I was initially hooked by. So what changed? It's simple. I stopped looking at My Hero Academia through a myopic point of view of only what's on the surface, and I figured out there is a much larger picture inside. Sounds simple, I know. You see, the better your understanding is of what Horikoshi's intentions are, the more you learn to value and appreciate this series. Here's an analogy that I often use for clarification. Let's say you own two vehicles in your garage. If Series B is the shiny and brand new sports car, My Hero Academia is the Jeep. Now, depending on the situation and person, a lot of people would choose the sports car. A great way for a first impression. Bold statement and high promise to get you what you want and need initially. But then you realize the Jeep is more ideal for more situations. You begin to realize that you are getting more out of driving the Jeep. You begin to have a deeper appreciation understanding of what you're getting out of driving that Jeep. A deeper appreciation understanding of what you get out of reading My Hero Academia. It's well constructed. Now, this doesn't mean someone would be more opted to choose the Jeep in the first place, but then that all depends on the experiences of that person. So why does My Hero Academia turn some people off from reading this series, or more importantly, why does it deserve a chance? Well, let's take a quick look at the lineup of what makes up the Shonen Weekly Jump roster. We got Blue Exorcist, Boruto, Kimetsu no Yaiba, Dragon Ball Super, Dr. Stone, Fire Punch, Shokugeki, Jujutsu Kaisen, One Piece, The Promised Neverland, etc. Quite a few names in series, not to mention the serialized manga that's already done, like Death Note and JoJo. There surely is an abundance of shonen manga to read, but as a reader, you may not have time to digest it all. You may have to pick and choose your series wisely. So how does one go about doing that? To answer your question, it depends on what you as a reader values. Now, I admit, I understand not everyone is as anal as me when it comes to deciding these things. But when you pick a book up, you should have a grasp on the quality of what the fuck you're reading. Sometimes it's easy to get caught up on the level of enjoyment you have for something without realizing what that something really is. I love High School DxD, but I would be a fool to think that series is of the same quality as Hunter x Hunter or My Hero Academia. Well, in certain aspects. The three deciding factors when scoring any anime for me is number 1, personal enjoyment and immersion. What I think turns a lot of people off is the personal level of enjoyment and immersion. What do I mean by that? What is level of enjoyment? Enjoyment is the entertainment value. The level of enjoyment in this context is determined by what you felt reading a series. How immersed did one get? How immersed did you get? This transitions to what a lot of people use as the variable to rate a series. Successful immersion often demands that the writer's presence be as unobtrusive as possible, yet still noticeable enough that you can identify how creative that mangaka and his or her story is. If you saw Yu Yu Hakusho, then you can probably notice the parallels it has with Hunter x Hunter, yet they still maintain the feeling of two completely different stories. Some writers go to great lengths to blend in their personalities and their likes into the work, like Horikoshi with comics and his love for Star Wars. But that's a video for another time. If most people determine their level of enjoyment through the aspect of drama, emotions, and storytelling, how do we discern a good narrative? I would say one way or another, people measure the characters, plot, conflicts, resolutions, structure, scenes, and dialogue and visuals, and whatever stands out as their perspectives and opinions. But perspectives and opinions are formulated on what you interpreted, and what we perceive is based on the effort the writer put in. How successful is the messages and ideas presented, how exposition is handled, and how the plot was conveyed, something we value as quality. However, you can only ascertain the quality so much as to how well you understood what you read. To understand the quality, you have to determine what you value in a series. Whether it's multi-layered characters, raw and honest emotions, intellectual and emotional honesty, endearing characters with character chemistry, subtle and organic storytelling with gripping plots, clever plots with tactics and strategies and mind games, attention to detail, tight pacing with richness of ideals and diversity, detailed coherent world building, balanced tone, not too bleak or saturated, psychological introspection with relatable internal conflicts, moral ambiguity, gray morality, amazing action sequences, well-explored themes, or unique/quirky comedy, all fall under this umbrella. My Hero Academia has a lot of these elements in spades, and some that it doesn't do so well in. I think it still has a lot to develop with characters like Shigaraki and the League and its Class 1A students, but I think that Horikoshi has the formula down for knowing when to incorporate these elements. Keep in mind that at this current point in the video, we are only 227 chapters in. So I think that it speaks volumes how well he's been able to handle pacing. The biggest aspect that I believe he also handles so well is how sequences have resonated with the core audience, and the contextualization of words and ideas he implements into the story to allow us to achieve a greater understanding of the concept. That sort of thing leaves an impression, an impact. Subtle characterization. It takes a tremendous amount of skill for a writer to make use of seemingly meaningless details to greatly deepen a character. What better way to explain this than the character Twice? Now, I don't want to dive into his psyche because honestly, you would be here all day. That's how much love I have for this character. For this particular context, what's important to note is the way Horikoshi uses Twice to bridge the reality of society through comedic artistic expression, which he does by ridiculing through satire, parodying, poking fun at situations. Twice is sort of used to question the absurd reality, and Toga complements that with her personality and her viewpoint of how she's been treated. In chapter 220, you see Twice mention that there's not much money in religion nowadays. And later on in chapter 227, with Compressed, you see the remark mentioned again. And throughout there are a lot of these little moments, small and unknown ideas that could make a huge impact, and how they could have monumental presence regardless of how irrelevant they may appear. In the same arc, the followers in the Liberation Army get painted as this sort of religious cult, which brings me to my next point. There is no secret that My Hero Academia is stockpiled with an abundance of various thematic themes and morals throughout. And to me, what conveys those themes and makes you better understand them, ironically, is the villains. Sure, there are an abundance of solid and enjoyable characters in My Hero Academia, but to me the biggest pull or factor that makes it so good is the balance between the disparity of beliefs among the hero society and its villains, the contradictions and open interpretations of meaningful ideas in the narrative. Do I believe My Hero Academia has great antagonists? Short answer, well, no. Or no, not yet. There are villains that I believe are quality or good. Even villains that have the potential to be. So you might be asking, what determines a superb villain? Well, that depends, but without diving into a whole 20-minute segment, I'm going to refer to a clip of a video from one of my favorite YouTubers.
Equation, the villain. Again, the malevolent goal almost always consists of the death of innocent people, whether it's releasing a deadly virus, hijacking nuclear codes, bombing a city, and pretty much every other tire disaster movie trope. So there really isn't much originality in this front either. Where the originality lies, then, is the motivation behind the villain's malevolence. What pushes the villain towards carrying out this insane act, and why does he feel justified in doing so? Too often, movies go over the top in what a villain's plan is, and not why the villain's plan is the way it is. If a film doesn't explore the why behind a villain's evil deed, then they're just evil for the sake of being evil. And without understanding the governing principles behind a villain's motivation, the audience will just see them as an empty and vapid plot contrivance. What all this amounts to, in my view, is that a superb villain cannot just be an evil force to be squashed. They need to represent much more in the overall context of the story. They need to be a force that can only be stopped by the might of the heroes in the story. They need to be relatable. They need to be sympathetic. And while we may not have to agree with the motivations behind their dastardly plot, we have to understand them. And perhaps most importantly, the best villains become the hero of the story when the events of the tale are looked at from the villain's perspective.
Now, looking at that, you can sort of get a taste as to what makes a good villain. I want to throw an ideal at you. Think on this: a man with no face, no other imprint than a singular goal of passing on the ideology to oppose the dogmatic practice the hero society has created through All Might, dies, satisfied knowing he created someone with a face and identity to oppose the status quo. Now, All for One is not dead, and Shigaraki hasn't gotten there yet, but the potential of Lone of what that statement is what I recognize as a phenomenal setup to create a superb villain. Stain, All for One, Overhaul, and even Destro shape the story in such a way that it's almost hard not to recognize it as quality, almost hard not to recognize it as something that I recommend. I won't sugarcoat it. I don't think My Hero Academia is perfect. I still hold shonens like Hunter x Hunter, Gintama, and even JoJo higher. Having said that, it's still a damn good series. It doesn't take a certain kind of person to appreciate it. It isn't a quote-unquote perfect series, at least right now, nor did it supersede my expectations to give it a 9. However, it's certainly earned its right as far as a quality series goes, in my opinion. My current rating for My Hero Academia is an 8, at least the manga. There's still plenty of room for it to grow and expand its characters. With the way the current arc is going, we might be getting there one chapter at a time. That's gonna do it for me today. Like and subscribe. Let me know your thoughts down in the comment section below. And as always, you can find me in the Discord. I'll link. And stay tuned for my next videos.